Aanya hated the rain. She hated the way it turned roads into muddy rivers, how it soaked her shoes, ruined her hair, and made everything feel slow and inconvenient. To her, rain wasn't poetic, it was chaos. But for Aarav, rain was everything. It was peace, music, and magic all wrapped into one. He loved the rhythm of raindrops tapping against rooftops, the scent of wet earth, and the quiet calm that followed a storm. Rain made him feel alive. They were complete opposites, and yet it was the rain that brought them together. It was a Thursday evening when Aanya first saw him. The sky had been threatening rain all day, but she ignored it, leaving her office without an umbrella. As she stepped out onto the street, the first drop hit her cheek, then another, and another. Within seconds, the sky opened up, pouring heavily. "Oh great," she muttered, rushing toward the nearest shelter, a small bus stop crowded with people trying to stay dry. She squeezed into a corner, slightly irritated, brushing water off her sleeves. That is when she noticed him. He wasn't under the shelter. He stood just outside it, completely drenched, arms slightly spread as if embracing the rain. His face was lifted toward the sky, eyes closed, a soft smile playing on his lips. Aanya stared at him, confused. "Is he enjoying this?" she whispered to herself. As if sensing her gaze, he opened his eyes and looked straight at her. Instead of feeling embarrassed, he smiled, warm, genuine, like they were already friends. "You should try it," he said, raising his voice over the sound of rain. "Try what?" she asked, frowning. "The rain." She blinked at him. "Are you serious?" "Completely? I'd rather not ruin my day further, thanks." He chuckled. "You think the rain ruins your day? I think it better." "Well, then we clearly don't think alike." "Maybe not," he said, stepping slightly closer to the shelter, though still standing in the rain. "But sometimes the best things happen when you try something different." She rolled her eyes. "I'm not stepping out there." "Not today," he said, "but maybe someday." The rain slowed after a few minutes, and people began to leave. Aanya adjusted her bag and walked away, not looking back. But for some reason his smile stayed with her. The next time it rained, she saw him again. This time she had an umbrella. She was walking quickly down the street when she spotted him standing under a tree, watching the rain fall through its leaves. He noticed her almost immediately. "You came prepared today," he said, gesturing toward her umbrella. "Yes," she replied, "unlike some people." "Where's the fun in that?" "Fun?" She laughed lightly. "There's nothing fun about getting soaked." He tilted his head. "You've never really tried, have you?" "I don't need to try it. I already know I hate it." "That's not how it works," he said. "You might be missing something beautiful." She hesitated. "Why do you care?" she asked finally. He shrugged. "Because you look like someone who hasn't experienced it properly. And you think standing in the rain is some life-changing experience." "I don't think," he said softly. "I know." There was something about the way he said it, calm, certain, that made her pause. But she shook her head. "Maybe for you," she said, walking away again. "Maybe for you too," he called after her. Days passed, then weeks. Every time it rained, Aanya found herself looking for him. And every time he was there, sometimes at the bus stop, sometimes near the cafe on the corner, sometimes just walking slowly, letting the rain soak him completely. And every time he greeted her with the same warm smile. Slowly they began to talk. At first it was just small conversations. "What do you do? Where do you live? Why do you love rain so much?" "I guess," he said one evening, "rain makes everything honest." "Honest?" she asked. "Yeah, people run, hide, complain, but when you stand in it, you accept it, you feel it, there's no pretending." That's a strange way to think about it. Maybe, he smiled, but it works for me. And what if someone doesn't want to get wet? Then they missing the point. She laughed softly. "You're impossible. And you're stubborn." They both smiled. One evening the rain came heavier than ever before. Thunder rumbled in the distance and the streets emptied quickly. Aanya ran toward the same bus stop, her umbrella barely helping against the strong wind. When she reached it, she saw him again. Of course. He stood there, soaked hair clinging to his forehead, laughing quietly as the rain poured around him. "You're insane," she said, catching her breath. "And you're still hiding," he replied. "I am not hiding, I am staying dry." "Same thing." She shook her head but couldn't stop smiling. "Why do you always do this?" she asked. "Do what, huh?" "Stand in the rain like it's as special." He looked at her for a moment before answering. "Because it reminds me that I am alive." Something in his voice changed. It was softer now, deeper. "Rain doesn't care about your plans," he continued. "It just comes, and in that moment everything else stops. You just exist." She didn't respond. For the first time she really listened. The sound of rain, the cool air, the stillness of the moment. "Come here," he said, gently extending his hand. She hesitated. Her mind told her no, but her heart was curious. "It is just rain," he said softly. After a long pause, she slowly closed her umbrella and stepped out. The first drop felt cold, then another. Within seconds she was soaked. Her hair clung to her face, her clothes heavy with water. She gasped. "I told you," he said, smiling. "It's not that bad." She stood there unsure at first, but then something shifted. She felt the rain, not as an inconvenience, but as something real, something alive. She laughed, a small laugh at first, then louder. "Freer." "It is different," she admitted. "Good different." She nodded. "Good different." They stood there together, letting the rain fall around them. No rush, no worries, just the moment. After that day, everything changed. Aanya no longer avoided the rain. She welcomed it. She began to understand what Aarav meant, and with every rainy day they grew closer. They talked about everything: dreams, fears, childhood memories, future plans. She learned that he loved photography, that he captured rain in ways most people never noticed. He learned that she wanted to travel, that she had always been afraid of stepping outside her comfort zone. "You were changing," he told her one evening. "Is that a bad thing?" "No," he smiled, "it's beautiful." "And you," she asked, "have I changed you?" He thought for a moment. "You've given the rain a new meaning." She looked at him confused. "How?" "It is not just about being alive anymore," he said. "It is about sharing it." Her heart skipped a beat. Weeks turned into months. Rain became their world, their story, their connection. And somewhere along the way, they fell in love. One evening, as rain poured softly around them, Aarav looked at her differently. "Do you remember the first time we met?" he asked. "How could I forget?" she smiled. "I thought you were crazy. And now I think you were right." He laughed softly. "I have something to tell you," he said. She felt a sudden nervousness. "What is it?" "I might have to leave." Her smile faded. "Leave?" "For a while," he said. "Work another city." The rain suddenly felt colder. "For how long?" "I don't know." Silence filled the space between them. "I don't want to go," he added quietly, "but I have to." She looked down, trying to process it. "Will you come back?" she asked. He stepped closer. "I will," he said, "because you were here." Tears mixed with rain on her face. "I hate rain again," she whispered. He gently lifted her chin. "No," he said softly, "don't let it take this away from you. But it reminds me of you." "Then let it remind you of us." The day he left, it rained. Of course it did. They stood together one last time under the open sky. "No umbrella?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not anymore." He smiled. "Good." They held each other tightly. "I'll come back," he promised. "I'll wait," she replied. Days passed, then weeks, then months, and every time it rained, Aanya stepped outside. Not to hide, but to remember, to feel, to believe. One evening, as rain began to fall again, she stood in their usual spot, eyes closed, arms slightly open, just like he used to. "You finally learned," a familiar voice said behind her. Her heart stopped. She turned slowly, and there he was, smiling, just like before. "You came back," she whispered. "I told you I would." She ran to him, laughing and crying at the same time. "I missed you," she said. "I missed you more." Rain poured around them, but this time, it wasn't just rain, it was love.